Check. Check.
Not yet.
Says 1 minute, he checks that.
Yeah, usually at some point between now and then, we'll hear it. So my have it adjusted. He makes adjustments.
One minute.
Check. Sound there's I'm supposed to ring the gong so that James.
Yeah.
Good morning, and welcome to our service. We are the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or RUF, in Ashland, Oregon. My name is Roger Best. One big reason I'm a part of RUF is to share in the energy of a loving community which honors and supports its members in time of need. This morning, we'll share a moment of silence to honor longtime congregation member Wendy Ross, who died this past October 8th. And to support her husband, Michael, also a longtime member. Please, I'll ring the bell and we'll have a moment of silence for approximately 1 minute. Thank you. We're pleased to welcome you to our service, both online and in person. We want to thank the members of the stream team who are helping make the online service happen, and the members of the neighborhood team who welcome congregants and support our online service. If you're a newcomer, we invite you to sign up for our mailing list at rvuuf.org. You will receive our weekly email newsletter called News to Note, which will give you the information about our inspiring and informative Sunday services and the numerous engaging activities going on here. It's great to have you with us for this service, and we invite you to join us in our mission: embracing diversity, empowering connection, and engaging in the social justice work. We begin each service by acknowledging that our building is built on land that began as the home of the Cow Creek Umpqua, Takelma, Shasta, and Letgawa people. We are committed to the fight for the worth and dignity of Indigenous people in our community and around the world. These services are a part of our work. Welcome, and thank you for being with us.
Good morning. I'd like to invite Donna Barrett. I'd like to invite Donna Barrett to come forward. Thank you.
So I just want to say, good morning.
Good morning.
Our mics are switching and people have to react quickly, and I'm not sure I'm up for that task, but being president, I have this task right now. The next few minutes are going to be about building and grounds. I am happy to announce that Bob Webb will be taking over as chair of the Building and Grounds Committee. Would you stand up, Bob? Watch for the News to Note article. We all are a part of the Building and Grounds as helpers when we are able. And now I want to talk about Jan Waite and Bill Montfort. Jan and Bill have been co-chairs of the Building and Grounds Committee for 5 years. Bill and Sue moved here 10 years ago, and Bill became involved right away as one of Morty Smith's assistants. Is Morty here today? Ah, Morty and Sue. Hi. So 5 years ago, Morty wanted to retire, and Jan and Bill stepped up. So we thank you, Morty, for doing all your years of work. Jan, my understanding, has been loosely working with Building and Grounds for the last 20, 25 years. This is incredible. We thank you, all three of you, so much. And we have a cake to celebrate you all. And we goofed. We only got 2 names on there, but sorry about that. Okay. And I would like Jan and Bill to come forward now because we have something to present to both of you. Where's Jan? There's Jan. Okay, it's going to be a long stand because, well, not too long, but. Okay, the next few words are going to be coming from Reverend Sean. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person to express my heartfelt gratitude for all the work you have done and the commitment it shows to this congregation. Even while you have been experiencing difficult times in your own lives, you continued to attend to all the things that need attention in a building like ours: maintenance, emergencies, and the upkeep and beauty of our spaces. I know there has been blood, sweat, and probably tears along the way, but I hope our thanks today outweighed the hard stuff. Thank you for your dedication and care. We appreciate you so very much. Reverend Sean. This is actually in excuse me. That's actually a restaurant in East Side Cafe in Northampton. And Jan, I don't know if you can hold this too. But thank you so very, very much. And Morty, I was not president when you, I'm sorry, but you are well thought of, and I know you did it for many, many years. Thank you all.
Right, Morty was, he lived around the corner, so he got a lot of the work done. And I ask you to do 2 things. When Bob asks you to volunteer to do a special project, I want you all to chip in and come to his rescue. And the other thing is to keep the fire lanes free of debris or anything we have in there. Okay, thank you.
Takes many hands to build a community. And hopefully our technical issues with the mics are resolved. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Great. Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Elias Poore, and it's my pleasure and privilege to serve as intern minister here at ROOF and for the Southern Oregon Unitarian Universalist Partnership congregations at Grants Pass and Klamath Falls. We'll be lighting our chalice this morning, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with these words. We light this chalice in the spirit of connection, remembering it is but one flame among a blaze of thousands, a tradition stretching through time, place, and space. We light this chalice in the spirit of mutuality, knowing that we can't move forward together when even one of us is left behind. We light this chalice in the spirit of love. May it guide us with wisdom, hold us with compassion, and lead us into ever-unfolding possibility together. Our opening hymn is number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive.
Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit in your gray hymnal number 146. Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunderclouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
To soar toward what's possible, you must leave behind what's comfortable. Cicely Tyson. Good morning. I'm Suzanne Anderson, and I'm a member of the anti-racism team. And we will light our candle today because it became a beacon of hope. The candle arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized would neither be forgotten nor ignored, because they are beloved and precious from the perspective of the holy. This morning, we remember all of the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence, government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they're anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. As we light this candle, may we make our lives a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw the circle wide, a sign that we will not rest until all means all. Our anti-racism team wants to welcome you into the widening circle. Please speak to me or someone else who is on the team after the service, and we could tell you about joining. And there are other anti-racism team members here today, and I'll point them out to you. Thank you.
It is our practice each time we gather to light a candle for peace. We take this moment to call to mind our commitment to peace of mind, peace in our homes, peace in our communities, and peace in the world. Today's words are from Petra Karen Kelly. A truly free society must not include a peace which oppresses us. We must learn on our own terms what peace and freedom mean together. There could be no peace if there's social injustice and suppression of human rights, because external and internal peace are inseparable. Peace is not just the absence of mass destruction, but a positive internal and external condition in which people are free so that they can grow to their full potential.
Peace of shalom. Peace of shalom. Peace of shalom. Peace of shalom.
Now's the time in our service where we share a story. I'd like to invite anyone who would like to participate to come forward. For you who are just arriving, it's our story time, and if you'd like to, please come forward and join me up here on the chancel. Our story today is called Super Tiny, and it's by Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf. Once, there was a girl named Amanda who loved to help other people. She helped her Papa David and Papi Cesar to clean the house. She raked up the leaves in her neighbor Jim's yard when he was in pain and couldn't do it himself. And she tutored her friend Sarah in math. So when it came time for her class to do a project to help people in her hometown, she was excited. Teacher Mike assigned each student a community of people that they should help. Some would help people living with illness. Some would clean yards for those who could not clean their own. Each project was a little bit different. Teacher Mike told Amanda that he would like her to help people in Walden, the poor part of town, who were hungry. He said, "You can do any type of service project you like, but I want you to help those who are hungry." Amanda couldn't wait. She thought all day about what she could do. When she got home, she told Papa David and Papi Cesar about the project. "I want to make sandwiches and take them to people who are hungry." Papa David and Papi Cesar and their neighbor Jim and her friend Sarah made 100 sandwiches for the poor people in Walden. The next day, Papi Cesar drove with Amanda to Walden. She had placed each sandwich in a bag with a piece of fruit. She tried handing out the sandwiches, but no one really seemed interested in them. Papi Cesar couldn't explain to her why no one wanted the sandwiches. She offered them to people who were young and old, brown and white, friendly and rude, but the answer was always the same. "Oh, I ate earlier, but thank you." Then she saw another little girl about her age. The little girl seemed to be watching Amanda, observing her with a look of laughter and curiosity. Amanda approached the little girl. "Would you like a sandwich?" The little girl looked at her for a moment and then said, "Aren't you going to ask me my name?" The little girl looked as Amanda became embarrassed. "Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Amanda. What's your name?" "My name is Tiny." This name was clearly appropriate. The little girl was tiny. "Why are you handing out sandwiches?" Tiny asked. "Well, it's a class project. I was asked to help those who are hungry here in Walden. So my Papa David and Papi Cesar and Jim and Sarah and I made sandwiches to give to everyone." Tiny laughed. "Well, we do get hungry here sometimes, but we never take food from strangers." Some of my neighbors go to the soup kitchen each evening. She paused to laugh some more, then said, "Your teacher really asked you to help the hungry?" Amanda was a little upset that Tiny thought this was so funny. Without really thinking, she blurted out angrily, "Well, what would you do then?" She didn't mean to get so mad, but she didn't like that someone thought her being helpful was funny. Tiny stopped laughing and looked seriously at Amanda. "You really want to help us?" Amanda nodded, but didn't speak because she was too mad. "Well, we have a garden that the city gave us. They gave us seeds, but most of the seeds were bad or not food that any of us will be able to eat much of, like turnips." Tiny made a grimace. "Yuck. Who needs 1,000 turnip seeds?" Amanda laughed. Tiny explained that what they really needed were healthy seeds for foods for her community that they could eat and tools to help dig up the land and water the garden. Tiny said that if Amanda really wanted to help, she could get her class and her dads and her friends to write letters to the city council asking that a grocery store be put in the neighborhood because the closest one was 45 minutes away by bus. Tiny and Amanda talked for a long time, and not just about the needs of Walden. They both liked to jump rope, sing songs, and make bird calls. Papi Cesar spent time chatting with Tiny's mom, and soon the two families were friends. Amanda decided that her project would be to ask her church, her class at school, her family and her friends to come down to Walden and ask the people what they needed. They helped the community get the tools and seeds for the garden and shared in a big harvest meal in the fall. It would take a long time, but eventually they would help get a grocery store in Walden. They had a big festival to celebrate their success together. Amanda learned a big lesson that day. She learned that you cannot decide what people need help with. You have to ask them what they need you to do, and then do that. She also learned that sometimes, if you ask a stranger what they need, you might just make a friend. Thank you all.
This morning's reading is from Isaiah 58, verses 1 to 12, a section of the traditional Haftarah for Yom Kippur morning, and proposes a radical vision of equality and justice in the observance of the Shabbats of Shabbats. Shout out, do not hold back. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Announce to my people their rebellion, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet day after day they seek me and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. Why do we fast, but do you not see? Why humble ourselves, but do you not notice? Look, you serve your own interest on your fast day and oppress all your workers. Look, you fast only to quarrel and to fight and to strike with a wicked fist. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose a day to humble oneself? Is it to bow down the head like a bulrush and to lie in sackcloth and ashes? Will you call this a fast? A day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and to bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them, and not to hide yourself from your own kin? Then your light shall bring forth the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, "Here I am." If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom shall be like the noonday. God will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong, and you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall rise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called a repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in.
Our centering hymn today is also in the Gray Hymnal, number 402. You can take a peek, but I don't really think that you're going to need your book. It's only 2 lines long, and it goes like this. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Please stand in body or spirit. There's a little bit of a motion that can go with this song that helps a bit to get the words out. Thanks, Carol. It goes like this. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Again, from you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. And it goes like this. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. One more time. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
This is me. Thank you. Good morning again. So I'm so pleased to be with you this morning, and I want to thank Roger for the reading of the traditional Haftarah from Yom Kippur, which is Isaiah 58, which is a call to a restoration of equality, which I'll talk more about in just a few moments. So I'm pleased to be with you for my first solo Sunday in the pulpit, and thank you for your grace, and you're welcome. I love stories, and that's something that's going to emerge again and again. And I'd like to begin this morning with telling you one of my own that's rather personal, but has shaped my experience and informed my ministry. But before I do that, I just want to note something, and it's that as I look around, I'm throwing things, that's lovely. As I look around the room today, I see all of your faces, and I can't help but wonder about your stories too. And I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge all of the mixtures of experiences and identities that have shaped all of our lives, Some we chose for ourselves, some we did not. Some of these grant us certain social privileges or benefits or more visibility. Some leave us trying to play catch up or even leave us out of the circle altogether, giving us more or less power in the multitude of intersectional systems that we interact with on a daily basis. I'd like to invite you to think about all of these different identities and experiences you hold that have impacted you, both in positive ways and maybe some not so positive ones. Also, perhaps, maybe there are some things that you regret, that you would change. Perhaps, although you regret them, you would not change them because you've come to realize they shaped you so deeply, you would not be the same without them. I think we all have these types of stories and they have power. Collectively, they are the story of the community. They're the story of us. And they can help us understand not only where we come from, but where we're going and what kind of world we might create together. In that spirit, I'll share a story with you. It was sometime in the mid-aughts, and I was living on the streets. I was walking on them too, at this particular moment, at least, my feet falling tired and heavy over the sidewalk alongside a main road in my hometown in the Texas Panhandle, as a crisp wind, battered, newly fallen leaves, fast food trash, discarded lottery tickets, various other pieces of street debris this way and that. Overhead, the brilliance of a Georgia O'Keeffe sunset was settling into a cool blue twilight, its impossible oranges and fierce pinks too dazzling to last for too long, furthermore decidedly unwilling to compete with the coarse street lights which were beginning to buzz and flicker and hum alive in the assemblage of shadow in the city below. When my partner and I at the time couldn't hustle enough money for our daily heroin habit and a motel room, we mostly jumped from couch to couch, staying as we could with friends and acquaintances, occasionally family members if we happened to be on good terms, which was rare. But sometimes circumstances led us to have to seek shelter elsewhere. I had slept in parks, in my former partner's car, once in an alley behind a friend's house between a fence and a storage building in the cold when they had not answered the door and I had nowhere else to go. On this particular night, again, we had not been able to devise money for both drugs and a room, and addiction being what it is, chose accordingly. It was getting colder, and beneath a sky of quickly fading colors and between wearied steps, I tried to plan out where we might go tonight, running through lists of names, places, wondering if we had enough gas to get where we needed to be. The glow of red taillights are caught in reflection in the shop windows and spots of puddled water here and there in the gutters of parking lots, and my flip phone, which I had managed to charge at a friend's house earlier, vibrated in my pocket. I answered, and my partner asked where I was, tells me she's on her way to meet me. We had become separated at some point earlier in the day. I look ahead, up a block or so, to the glowing yellow Denny's sign, and I tell her to meet me there. Originally, we had both been a part of the area punk, underground, creative scene, which was surprisingly thriving for such a small and conservative place. We bounced between the punk and hip-hop shows, art shows, house parties, painting, writing, making music, talking about Basquiat, beat poetry, socialism, anti-racism, mutual aid. We dreamed of living outside of a system that we could all see so plainly to be broken and creating a new one for ourselves. It was my first introduction to a group committed to radical politics, to social change, and to the DIY spirit that drove such scenes. Interestingly, this particular Denny's that I was now approaching was the place where we often went after punk shows, drinking coffee and talking long into the night. I crossed the Denny's parking lot, went in, and was greeted by one of the managers that I vaguely remembered from a few years before. "Just you tonight?" he asked. I told him that I had a friend on the way, and he led me to a table in the back, placing 2 floppy menus down on the table. I sat down and ordered a cup of coffee, welcoming the warmth and a place to sit down for a bit and a chance to remove my backpack from my shoulders, which had become quite heavy. I settled in, watching the cars go by on the road on which I was just walking, stirred some of the small tubs of creamer into my coffee. I wasn't there long before I heard the crackle of police radios in the front lobby. I stiffened a bit, but I tried to reassure myself that I used to see officers in all the time when I was here with friends after the shows. I tried to look casual as they entered the dining room. Instead of taking a seat, they continued straight toward me. "Hi," one of them said. "Could we talk outside?" It wasn't a friendly request. I got up to leave, my backpack still on the seat where I just was, by my half-drink cup of coffee. "You might want to grab your things," he continued. I noticed my hand shaking as I reached out for my bag. As they escorted me out, we passed the manager who greeted me when I arrived. He nodded and thanked the officers and didn't even look at me. I was invisible, a threat, a presence not worthy of acknowledgement. A few moments later, I'm sitting in the back of the police car, having been arrested for warrants, unpaid speeding tickets, and possession of a controlled substance for the methadone pills in my pocket, incidentally prescribed to me but out of the bottle. This latter charge sending me to prison for the first time several months later and kickstarting what would end up being nearly 6 years of incarceration. There are many stories of experiences of being poor and unhoused, many intersecting with incarceration and addiction, and this is just one of mine. One story with many others like it, belonging to me and others like me in every community in spaces that you would not expect. For the past 8 years, I've worked closely with the unhoused community doing street outreach and harm reduction ministries, and I've had the opportunity to hear plenty of these stories. When we talk about poverty, it's generally in terms of lack of money or resources. And while this characterization is certainly true, the poverty that impacts the unhoused community and those on the margins perhaps most profoundly, particularly those who experience chronic houselessness, is often a poverty of connection, more specifically, a poverty of mutuality. It's a relegation from a whole complex being with dreams and gifts and hopes to, at worst, a threat, and at best, simply a person in need of money, of clothing, of food, of a job, of a car, of a home, which you are told you are defective somehow in your inability to provide these things for yourself, not considering the many systems we encounter in the paths within these spaces. And while it may be true that these physical needs are there, the more damaging absence that often occurs is that of real human heart-to-heart connection and the sense that you're a person with gifts and capabilities beyond just being on the receiving end of someone handing you $1 or a bologna sandwich. The way we have traditionally tried to address this poverty of things as individuals and as faith communities is by placing ourselves in the role of benevolent givers. This allows us to feel great about our own generosity. I've done it. Church groups head to soup kitchens and shelters and matching t-shirts, and we hand out meals. And at the end of the day, we feel good about ourselves for our selflessness and our compassion. And maybe for a while, these experiences inspire us to reflect on our own blessings and privileges, being faced with so many that have so little. And indeed, there's a very real need for these things. After all, hungry people need to eat, cold people need warm clothing, houseless people need shelter, and so on. But ultimately, if we don't go any deeper than these transactional relationships, the people that are helped by this model become two-dimensional figures, defined by only what they don't have, caricatures of struggle and need. Similarly, the givers in this relationship too are robbed of their complexity and humanity, with both groups suffering the loss of not only their own, but each other's potential. So how do we fix this? By seeing each other not as other, not as needy or broken, but as whole and wholly complex beings. A theme that I revisit often, that's reflected in the call of the ancient Hebrew prophets and indeed throughout the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, is that we are incomplete without the wholeness of one another. Poverty lies at the heart of many intersecting ills, acting as both cause and consequence of substance use disorders and incarceration, along with systemic oppression and interpersonal, institutional, and systemic trauma, which could be argued are really at the heart of all of these, resulting in that poverty of connection. It lends permission for us to see one another as other. This type of poverty is not limited to our unhoused, addicted, or incarcerated neighbors. It's reciprocal poverty, born of an absence of mutuality and imbalance of systemic power that impacts us all. We, as individuals and as a culture, suffer from a poverty of connection too. By harming the most vulnerable among us, it harms us all. When we sacrifice the potential of even one of us, we lose some of what we could be together. So how do we begin to imagine or reimagine, create or recreate lives, churches, communities, and systems that reflect and cultivate connection, interconnection, mutuality, and healing? How do we see each other again, bringing those especially from the margins of the margins into circles of connection and reciprocity? Yom Kippur, which was observed yesterday, is traditionally a day of purification and atonement. The idea of atonement here, though, as posited by many rabbis in the Jewish tradition, and indeed within the Hebrew scriptures themselves, particularly in Isaiah 58, which Roger shared with us earlier, is much broader. This is not just purification and atonement on a personal level. It represents a complete social reset, particularly with the observation of the Jubilee year, traditionally occurring every 49 years. During Jubilee, those that were enslaved go free. All debts are forgiven. Historically, it was a massive day of collective return, of teshuvah, repentance, or returning to a more holy version of oneself. And this is not done individually. It can't be. It's done collectively, mutually. The Hebrew phrase, tikkun olam, although originally having more mystical origins, has taken on a meaning associated with repair of the world. In the midst of injustice, it's a moral imperative. The tradition of the Hebrew prophets, such as that of Isaiah, brought us the prophetic tradition, which we embrace in Unitarian Universalism. It's a tradition of speaking truth to power. The prophetic tradition calls on those in power and on the people to essentially atone, to realign themselves with their highest, most divine self, which includes a recognition that individual atonement is not sufficient. This is represented in the reading of the Haftarah of Yom Kippur, which calls the people to turn from traditional concepts of sin and atonement and move toward one of social equity, liberation, and what we would call today beloved community. In the text, God tells Isaiah to shout the truth to the people that individual atonement is not enough. It's a call for the people to turn away from solemn rituals, to care for one another truly, deeply, and completely, to address injustice in all its forms, promising spiritual and social renewal in turn. The hope provided in this text is that when we embrace one another wholly, when we atone in not only an individual but a communal way, focused on bringing equity and justice and compassion to all, is clear. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. This is tikkun olam, repair of the world, a return to the holy that dwells within all of us. Eventually, I made it out of the cycle of houselessness and incarceration, but many beloveds remain. The important thing is that my own repentance, my own returning to my highest self was not done, certainly without some amount of privilege, and it was not done in isolation, but in and with community, just like this one. The challenge for all of us is to recognize that those we believe are most removed are sometimes closer than we think. We're called to build connections open-heartedly, to share stories courageously, to listen deeply, and to center the experiences of those who have been subject to injustice, to work together to build a more fair and equitable world, acknowledging that we can only do so in the spirit of mutuality, countering hierarchical power with trust, curiosity, compassion, and yes, atonement in the sense of leaning into our highest selves. We must, individually and collectively, lift up the divine in each of us, knowing it burns brightly and is shared by all. May it never, ever be doused. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. Each week, we take an offering to support the mission and the work of our congregation. We're able to continue our work because of your gifts. If you're joining us online, you can mail your gift to 87 4th Street, Ashland, Oregon, 97520. To give online, go to tinyurl.com/RVUUF offering and follow the instructions there. To give by text, simply text $$ and the amount you'd like to donate to 541-229-4229. If you need support, please contact Reverend Sean using the form at roof.org. We'll do our best to help. We'll now give and receive the morning offering with gratitude. For these gifts and all the gifts you bring into the community and into this world, thank you. Our closing hymn is number 318, We Would Be One.
Please join me in your great hymnal again, number 318.
We would be one, as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to the high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Our closing words are from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. Community is an expression of divine love. It is where I am valued simply for who I am, how I live, and what I give to others. It is the place where they know my name. Go in peace this day, and be blessed always.
For we shall go out in joy, for we shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be, for we shall go out in joy, for we shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come